Arnold Maliba, not a stranger on this show, NTV Today. Thank you for joining us this morning. And he is a policy analyst as well as very keen on governance issues. From where you stand, and this was not the first time, this is the Mashujaa Day celebrations, wasn't the first time that the president made pronouncements against what is happening at the Agricultural Ministry, but also over the ASK show. Yeah. Earlier in the month, and the president sounds pretty mad. Are you convinced, as a policy analyst, that something will be done?
Well, the president sounding tough is really not new, and I think I would really love to look at this as political.
Okay.
Yeah, because from where I see it, the president is trying to simply give the CS agriculture a pole position in succession politics. Unfortunately, that's where I see it. Okay. That you take care of the issues that are bedeviling Western Kenya and Rift Valley, and you will be worth taking over from me. Because you see, even as we look at the succession politics around 2022, there is a succession within succession, especially within central Kenya, where the president comes from, that somebody has to take up after him. But largely, without major political issues happening around, then we are going back to the real issues that actually matter to Kenyans. Yes. Now, we do not have the political divides that have been there. You know, there has always been an NASA and Jubilee. And since 2013, there has always been a Raila versus Uhuru divide. Now, that doesn't exist. Now, we are going back to the issues that really speak to the economy, speak to our livelihoods. And number one, as expected, is agriculture. Because agriculture is the backbone of the economy, like they say. Yes. And it takes care about 25% of our GDP. Now, naturally, that again employs about 60% of Kenyans, even though the average farmer in Kenya is 60 years old. Okay. So what the president is simply trying to do is to, number one, ensure that as he prepares for his retirement, there is somebody to take care of that. But then Mwangi Kiunjuri is not new to controversy also. Okay. You remember he once sacked Fazul Mohammed at the NGO board then. Yes. And that is the first time, nobody's really talking about it, that is the first time a department was moved from one ministry to another. So I do not think Mwangi Kiunjuri is actually going to face the sack like everybody thinks. But so far from where we are now looking at, where we are facing, his ministry is actually going to dictate a lot going forward. Right. And yeah.
I mean, given, granted that one of the big four agendas is food security, and besides the succession politics, though, in terms of the priorities that the government is putting right now, I mean, yes, the president talks tough, and that doesn't, stand alone as the only, solution to what bedevils the agricultural sector. But in your view, do they have their attention in the right place in getting it right for food security?
Well, not really, because we are doing about 6%. When in our budget, yes. Agriculture is really underfunded. We are doing about 6% against the recommended percentage globally. That should be about 15%. Yes. So if it's not reflecting in the budget, the tough talk really doesn't amount to much. We have really let down agriculture for so long that.
Well, what do you mean by that? Because I mean we need to be fed every day, yeah. And so by extension, it keeps going.
Agriculture has survived on its own because yes. Largely we depend on rainfall. Yes. And you should remember that between 1960 to today, temperatures in Kenya have actually risen by at least 1%. So there has been warming. And the major rains between March to about June have actually reduced. And of course, there is an increase in the rains that are beginning now, the October rains. So little bit there has been climatical changes, but we really have not done anything about it. There are issues to do with the extension. And the ratio of an extension officer to farmers is actually, in Kenya, is actually one extension officer to 1,500 farmers. It's impossible. So really, that really can't work out. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of subsidy elsewhere. Like I said, our agriculture sector is really underfunded. So I would like the president to put money where his mouth is. So just threatening the ACS and swearing in itself does not amount to much. And paying a few farmers money that is actually owed to them does not even begin to speak to agriculture. So it's time we really moved out. And but the Big Four is largely a fad.
What do you mean by that? I mean, it touches on what really is...
Unlike in the first Jubilee reign, the Jubilee manifesto was actually anchored elsewhere. It was it was actually placed within the ministerial framework. This one is actually placed under PDU. Truth is that Nzioka Waita honestly is a ghost worker, including whom does he report to? What is the framework that will actually even help him achieve Big Four?
Are you talking about, when you say it's a fad, are you talking about the potential that it has, or even how much this matters, the 4 big areas, how much they matter to the Kenyan?
Big Four really...
And they say this is his legacy term.
Not really. The Big Four are not going to be the president's legacy.
Okay.
Probably he should fight corruption or something else. But then we plagiarized that. We picked up from a stock market in the UK.
So I'm told,
the
yes.
Big Four, the Big Four, we just plagiarized that.
But if you look at our needs, what is priority? Wouldn't you say that it falls under, you know, the areas that would really, really support our economy and deal with
our big one should be corruption.
Okay.
Our big one should be corruption, because we're losing about a third of our budget to graft.
Yes.
So if we take care of that, the others are likely to fall in place. But we've done away, you remember Kenya was actually a manufacturing hub. We've done away with that because we've allowed manufacturing, or rather imports, to come in and kill local manufacturing. We are doing the same to agriculture. So at the end of the day, we are going to be a net importer and a consumer, and not investing in our other segments that really work on our economy, that create employment. Probably talking about the sugar industry. The sugar industry supports largely about 2 million people.
Yes.
At its peak, it was employing directly about 100,000 people. But since 80s, it has been plagued with challenges, and we never act on them. We actually take half-hearted measures around it. The same thing, if the president does not really put money where his anger is, it really matters not.
Okay.
Even if heads were to roll, even if bodies were to roll, leave alone heads, it will not matter so much if we do not put money there. Okay. So we have not done so much. Yeah.
Let me pause you on that, because these are areas that we need to definitely delve deeper into. And it's not just castigating the Jubilee leadership, but really looking honestly at what should be priority to the country, given the context that we have and the realities that we have. And you've mentioned corruption. It cuts across the board, and it affects all those areas. To issues that we were discussing earlier, Oko Kusa spoke to some people in Kisumu on reactions to Raila Odinga's recent appointment as a special envoy to the AU in charge of infrastructure. First of all, when you heard this news, Arnold Maliba, how do you receive it? Is this necessarily, exciting, or is this telling of what is coming in terms of the political field?
First of all, we had this news in April. As we headed into the handshake,
yes,
there was word that there will be a handshake, and then he will take up an international assignment. But on the home front, it means so many things. I have said on this show before, and I'll still repeat, that the retired Right Honorable,
retired,
I want to use the word retired, is actually leaving politics.
Okay.
And the handshake is his retirement plan to win off himself politics and also his supporters, get an international assignment, and get back his troops to a pole position where they can fight again.
Right.
But literally, whatever is happening, it is Raila's way of leaving politics. He can't just say that he's leaving politics today, because if he did, there will be a ruckus around, there will be a lot of tempest as his backyard tries to reorganize, and a lot of succession wars. Nationally, there will be, because again, he has been that constant K in the equation of our political processes. So if he is not there, there's going to be quite some movement. So he's sleeping on it. But my gut feeling is that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is leaving politics.
He's been termed, of course, the strongest contender. I mean, leader of opposition is what we still call him. Yeah. And one would even imagine, I mean, how dare Arnold say that? Because he is the opposition, and he gives the life to politics in Kenya. And he is, even if you say he might be retiring or not running for top office, still the kingmaker.
Well, our culture is such that once you are out of the political processes, the cycle that makes the electoral process here, you become less attractive.
But he isn't out. I mean, we've just had the election.
He's actually in the periphery. He has not said he's out, but he already is. So for me...
How do you determine when someone is out of that cycle?
Because the word Agwambo is a man of mysterious means, an unpredictable man. He has pulled quite a number of tricks in the past. I think he has just realized that his days in the battlefield are coming to a sunset. And the best way is actually to organize a succession process. So as he takes time and goes around and leave everybody gazing, including ourselves here, he's actually working on his succession plan to ensure that he just doesn't leave abruptly. Yes, because the tectonic shifts will be so massive that we might have a country wobbling for a while before it stabilizes again.
And that succession plan is what people would define as him being the kingmaker. So he still determines and he's still pulling the strings from wherever he will stand.
He was a kingmaker last in 2012.
Okay.
Yes.
With Mwai Kibaki.
Yes, it has been about a decade since he actually played kingmaker. He has always contended for the seat, for the throne, so we no longer can call him a kingmaker. He will only organize and probably become a father of a nation, a venerated elder and a statesman at that. But all symptoms and all signs of the times show that Raila Amolo Odinga is leaving politics.
So from your perspective and your view, and we all have our opinions, it isn't an attempt, as some have seen it or claim it to be, an attempt to distract him from local politics by giving him this appointment at the AU?
You cannot distract Raila. He is likely to distract you. So if he's taken up an assignment, he knows what he's doing. Yes. And you have to look at the implications and the kinetics that come with that. So it's a lie to say that somebody is distracting Raila. Raila has just decided to go that path, and he knows why he's doing that. Like I said, my gut feeling is that he knows his days in the battlefield are rather too few. So he's organizing, and how the best way would be bring back his troops to a better position. You know, like I took you in the wilderness, now I've brought you back to a place where you can
You're talking about the handshake here?
Yes, I'm talking about the handshake.
Yes.
The handshake is to get back his, because now his MPs can negotiate better, they can walk to any CS and not say that we are in the opposition now, the CS don't listen to us. Opposition politicians now have got access to government resources, and there is no excuse. Anyone can walk in, ask for whatever there would be. What an easy way of actually bringing guys back within the circles of government and showing up later on and telling them, okay, I've brought you in, I have oriented you well enough, now you can do your own walking.
Okay, but you know, you talk about this in a way, at the same breath, some others are calling him to retire, that is mostly members of parliament from Central, to retire from local politics and focus on being a continental or international leader. Is there even any necessity in them making these pronouncements?
Well, actually, it's not really a lot of politicians from Central Kenya, but a few members of parliament, especially that team that has been hanging around the deputy president, that feels like him having taken a continental assignment is a bit celebratory. It's one way of them remaining relevant and, of course, pushing the handshake politics a bit further. Well, telling a man to retire is not any other person's business. It should be up to him. So probably they should wait and see how it moves out.
Yeah, but Jeanette yesterday said that is because it is, he diagnoses this as Raila phobia. That is a state of many politicians who are just afraid of what Raila is capable of doing.
Well, the crown or the gem in what Raila should be doing, or rather has been doing, has been an attempt at capturing state power. He has not been successful at it, at least formally. You know,
hasn't he captured it somewhat with the handshake?
Well, everybody's calling him the people's president.
Yes.
Of course, there was that crocodile that stopped him at River Jordan. And there has been a joke that, of course, the crocodile was the other day captured, so guys can actually cross on foot or just swim across. But whereas Raila, like I said, has been a constant in our politics, going forward, you know, even the guys who support the DP have not been sure whom they are competing.
Okay.
And the former prime minister has also been very amorphous. He doesn't say if he'll compete or not. Other people are speaking for him. So until then, they're not so sure. And in politics, you need to know your competitor. You need to know your opponent. You need to know your enemy. They do not know. All those are probe shots. Right. Trying to see if he'll come out, and then, of course, moving on with the politics of antagonism.
So last word on this disappointment for you doesn't come as a shocker for Raila. He himself taking it willingly means he is strategizing for the heydays.
For him, he actually engineered this. he worked around this. It is his own design. No one has done it. Until he walked and picked the president's call, until he went to Arambe House, he did it himself. It's not a surprise. He has actually engineered it. Okay. It is his work, it's his doing, and in my opinion, it is his way of organizing for moving out from the battlefield.
As you've said,
all soldiers never die; they just fade away. So he's just doing that.
As you said, his name Agwambo, meaning the mysterious man of mystery, and mystery he is, and of course he throws a lot of surprises our way. We keep watching on the next move from the ODM leader, and I mean, wish him well in this new assignment at the AU as a special envoy in charge of infrastructure, and definitely can expect a lot of more reactions from the politicians to this. Let's move it back to the agricultural sector, and Bernardo Joang was talking to one of the farmers there in Migori with his concerns. He's a sugarcane farmer, I believe is the same one he has standing by for comment on this, and then we can pick it up from there. Bernard?
Well, thank you very much, Mark. Sorry for that technical hitch. We were speaking to some of the farmers here in Rongo. Remember, Migori County, sugarcane farming is the main cash crop here. And for a very long time, you've seen farmers complaining to the Minister of Agriculture. And also, recently, you saw in Rongo town, police managed to intercept 9 lorries containing illegal sugar. And later, the lorries were released. And farmers also raised complaint, saying that something should be done by the Minister of Agriculture so as to save the situation. And also in Rift Valley, you had farmers, maize farmers, complaining about some unpaid debts. And now we are just going to talk to some of the farmers here just to tell us, is the government through Ministry of Agriculture helping farmers here in the country to achieve their goals? Join me here. What do you think? Do you think the government is doing enough to help you as farmers?
No, please. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm called George Caleb. I'm a sugarcane farmer. Honestly speaking, the government is not sincere and is not helping farmers really. I think that is very evident. Amazed farmers in North Rift. So cabinet secretary saying we are paying, other farmers are saying we've not received. Government is not sincere. What should be done is that just as you know that agriculture is before that, we should make sure that evolution from the farmers, we should improvise a way on how we help our farmers getting good let's say they get good machines for farming. They get the seeds. Our farmers should also be taught new skills for doing their farming. The government should be at all the time to facilitate farmers into their payment after they've done their work. Do you think this is a good move? This is a good move, and I even appreciate His Excellency when he said that any farmer should take all his crop, or any company that is willing to buy. I think as farmers, if the government is not serious about the sugarcane farming, and maybe we'll meet over because we have to survive. How can you take close to 2.5 sugarcane farming, and by the end of it all, you are not being given your money at the right time, and then all the
passionate appeals and passionate question that the first question that apologies that was cut short signal. He doesn't feel there's enough support coming from and yes, I mean, and we talk about agriculture, a lot of sugarcane and sugarcane maize. First of all, let's talk about this maize issue, because it was the main topic that we very present in. This was about payment. This was about the payments of maize farmers. Are you surprised why we find ourselves position where people aren't paid yet the government has released? What do you think needs to happen to straighten things out, change the fortunes for the maize?
Probably we need to look at it from a larger perspective. You realize that it's not just payment. Even if we pay haven't addressed their challenge. Farming very expensive, still very expensive. Our farmers are competing against other farmers who have government subsidies. Traders who are taking advantage of the ESC protocol, for example, bringing it to Uganda and bringing it cheaper maize, holding it and then they get quite high prices. So even if the farmers get their pay today, it's not a fair shilling, it's not their fair shilling, it's their fair weight in the gold of their because farmers have put in so much. Yet difference and the margins are very very when you bring in from Mexico, when you bring in those guys are paid much. So what really happens is that we have got a huge and there has not only official government policy to address that, there has not been political goodwill. And I'm thinking probably the handshake is actually one of those actually happens to our that we forget the things that are told to lie to us, focus on our life, and now focus on our livelihood. And about the food chain, like I said, it was feasible because the largest number. But NCPB and paying farmers, maize farmers, and even the sugar sector. It's quite a small thing. It's quite a very small thing. So we probably need to look at like I said, widely, comprehensively, comprehensively to ensure these really come. So that agriculture is not sustainable.
And you're talking directly to the man who is on our left, that man on the spot, to give the man on the spot, to give the president said, and effectively responding to that, and assuring people that the payments have been made, in order. But you say very small issue to solve in a bigger picture of the agriculture. Start to speak about the bigger picture. What can get us out of falling back? We are very dependent on agriculture, and every time that we have short rainfall, and it is getting shorter, climate change, what should we be looking at? Well, number one, we need budget, our agricultural budget. Realize that the leading employer in this country, we need to make agriculture to like I said, the average age of a farmer today in Kenya is 6 years. 67% of the adult population are people under. So we have got so many mouths but very few people who are going to do the farming. The other part is that we need to work on extension. We do not have enough. Our farmers, they do not know on the technological front, when we talk about the mobile telephony, we are doing quite well. The agrarian and the we are using outdated. And that is because of why the sugar industry is not farming on the other side. But then bringing fertilizer from the west, I'm talking about the west coast, to Mombasa, costs about $40 per ton. But then moving that fertilizer from Nairobi, Mombasa, then costs you $100 and $20 per ton. That's so much that doesn't have infrastructure. Guys actually having their produce ready, able to be at the right time to market at the right time. It's still fresh, for example. Even the infrastructure also affects the input that goes. Farm machinery. We have not had a comprehensive way of looking at our. But the ministry has got the highest number of us. It's the ministry that made them. Yes. Now that is the ministry. Like I said, that is going to make money. So largely they do so much. So when the CA speaks later on, not to respond to the president, he's unlikely to respond. But to speak to the situation. Number one, just setting up a small committee. We need a comprehensive review of our agricultural sector. Of course, there are money leaders, but everybody can say that he will have required a commission that can make recommendations that can actually be. Just having a small. That's why the president will anger. The president will anger. Does not. Nigerians say that. However, how to anger is it? How to anger is it? I am bully. So the president's anger still does not speak to.
a farmer himself. If he's a farmer himself, he should know this. When the other day he was addressing what he actually felt ashamed. He actually felt ashamed to go and started speaking out. Even if you are where he is, he needs to have a one-on-one dialogue. We need national dialogue. And the farmers actually that government to actually just look at. We do not allow men. A few people, like 18 people, have brought down the sugar that serves 2 million people. So where do we put our
and you were talking earlier about just to get back to that, you mentioned those brokers, and those who really benefit, saw the list of getting the millions of people getting millions of shillings, get millions of shillings in payment fee and from those CPP investigations to this investigation to lead, and I believe will also respond in that later on today. Is that something that needs to be changed in the model, structure in the model? From the farmer getting to the person who's buying either the NCP, or getting his product,
I think what we need is our software. Okay. We are so much. Sometimes we do a lot of policy changes, work on hardware. We do not work on the software part of it. Because what is happening here is corrupt leadership. It's corrupt impunity. And by the way, Kenya's first scandal was around maize. Under the first government, the first scandal of this country ever was a maize scandal. 50 plus years, maize scandals still show up time and again. I'm thinking my feeling is that the government has really because all the problems we have in agriculture, including in the NCP. So we're going to blame an organization, a unit, or rather a unit itself has actually been working, but the system always gets a good match. So of course there is need to review the structure around the NCP. Just very basic things. Very basic. For example, I would take some blood measures today when the president swears at you twice, you have got the justification of going out and drawing your blood. So I know his statement is actually going to be far. We expect out as an event. What we have is a challenge that needs comprehensively, like I've said, and not just to be responded to with short measures here.
You've spoken about the budget allocation that we see in the agricultural sector, whatever is allocated to the agricultural sector is already inadequate. Inadequate. When you're talking about what is already being spent, how do you balance to increase funding to the agriculture while also plugging those loopholes and
we actually have left the farmer in the wilderness. The farmer has been alone. And we go around, of course, people win elections on the promises of turning around agriculture, and they get I'm hoping that probably the president might need to domicile his Big Four within the cabinet, give it more funding, work hard around it, revamp them. We kill our manufacturing sector. We are doing the same to the agricultural sector.
Yes.
And you know, it looked like, at some point, it looked like the Kenyan manufacturing sector will survive. It didn't. Cheaper products are coming from elsewhere. Yeah.
There's a comment that got also from the president, and I believe it was also from Strathmore, and he actually spoke very passionately. And this is a different sector we would call of agriculture and what have you. It's not on maize or it's not on sugarcane, but it speaks a lot about his notion or approach to changing the fortunes for our own farmers. So he's talking about fish and the fish from China. And he said, why don't you just, you know, call this or, you know, label this as fake and, you know, have that narrative out there so that we can build our own fortunes and demand for our own fish. How did you react to that comment?
Well, up there, I will actually say that, number one, that was a very extrajudicial comment. This is a head of state actually advising the CAs and the government to get around, to circumvent law of a problem they have caused it themselves. You know, when you say that we can actually say, and I will quote his word, tunaweza hata sema hiyo samaki ni mbaya. Sio atakuwa samaki ni mbaya, we can say hiyo, as in we can, that is impunity.
Yes.
But largely, he has a point on the flip of it, that markets out there are really closed.
Okay.
You cannot import a car into Japan easily, because Japan produces cars.
Yes.
So if you have to bring in a car, you realize you're put to tariffs and it's very expensive. So we have got billions of fish playing around in Lake Victoria. Of course, we have not really outfished the place, but we allow in cheaper fish that comes in from China. I would like you to see the distance between here and China. So if yet that fish shows up here and it's cheaper, there's definitely something wrong with the way we do our production, the way we have actually primed our economy. And like somebody has said before, our economy is where it is not because government has really worked to ensure it is there, but because Kenyans work hard to ensure that the economy is where it is, not because of government. Okay. Otherwise, we have neglected the economy and the pillars and the functions around the economy. So as a government, if you have neglected that, how are you making it work? And it's the industriousness of Kenyans that has actually ensured that our economy is where it is.
Okay, let me hold you on that point because we need to cross over to Bomet, where Julian's Mboko has been actually for the last 2 days, I believe. And yesterday there was a word that MPs from Bomet walked out of President Uhuru Kenyatta's function in the area after they were denied a chance to address the gathering. I believe he has a leader there from the ground to give clarification on this, as well as what to expect on this.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark Masai. We are on the sidelines of the Lake Region Economic Bloc Investment Forum. And yesterday we had an incident which triggered a lot of interest with regard to the political undertones. I'm now joined with the governor of Bomet, that is Dr. Joyce Laboso, who will just give us an insight into the developments around yesterday's incident. Dr. Karibu.
Yes, asante sana. Thank you very much. I think before we talk about the incident, I want to first of all say a very big thank you to the residents of Bomet, to all the LREP family that really came out in large numbers to welcome the president and the deputy president and all the visitors that were in Bomet yesterday. Everything went without a hitch. The whole day we started our program with the president in Sotik, KCC, where he commissioned a 200 million refurbishment at the Sotik KCC. This is going to really go a long way in making us, even be able to process even more milk in KCC. It is now got the capacity of over 100,000 liters in a day. That was the job that we went to do in Sotik. From there, we moved to the university. We had 3 functions. The president was graceful enough to accept to actually do 3 functions in one day. And of course, you know the time that he arrived. So the real reason why this hitch happened yesterday was because of the time constraints, one, and secondly, that we don't control the president's program. that when the president is in a function or is here, it is no longer about the governor or our MPs or anybody else. His program is controlled from State House, like everybody knows. So when we were told that we still had a second program and that they needed to leave here before 5 o'clock, and we were already almost 3 o'clock, and yet we hadn't even done what had also brought us to Bomet, which was the official opening of LREP, the Lake Region Economic Bloc Investment Conference. It was very unfortunate that our leaders were unable to speak in that function because of this time constraint and because of what we were following the program as presented from the president's presidential handlers. So really, I want to appeal to our members of parliament that really we were here having thousands of people in Bomet. Over 3,000 people were in this tent yesterday, and in the university, another huge crowd. People were out there to come and welcome the president and hear what the president had to say to us. So I want to really appeal to them. Let us really take ourselves, as people who are welcoming to visitors, and let's not give a wrong image of what the people of Bomet are. We have enough ample time, and we already will have even other opportunities, especially with them being with the president in Nairobi, and they are at the national. There is enough and ample time to really tell the president some of the issues. We would have wished everybody to be able to speak, but the way it was handled, it was done, is that there was no time, and we still had yet another function.
Madam Governor, just to follow up on that, might they have tabled some of these grievances with you so that you can at least shed some light on that?
Yeah, I think some of the things had been handled. Like we've been talking about the Mao. I think the Mao issue is a very thorny one, and even we had, myself and even the governor of Kericho had written to the president. We've had occasions even to discuss with him. And what has really come out, is that what would be the best thing is if the leadership of both the Kipsigis and or at least the Kalenjins and the Maasais, if we could have a situation where this leadership can meet together, that is the only time we can be able to really get a lasting solution to this issue. But when we handle it on our own on one side, and then the other group also handles it on their own on the other side, it's very difficult to really get a lasting solution. It is when we speak together and agree on a way forward together that I believe that we can get a solution. So really, issues were raised. I think we have talked about part of the other issue was on the university. Yes, it has been slow in progress. But we are even happy that now we have got a complete block. So now in terms of tuition, we have a tuition block that can cover at least 2,000 students in the tuition block. So really, we are expecting to have done the library by now, and maybe also the multipurpose hall. But if you sometimes speak to the contractor, he says the biggest problem is being paid. He has not been, having very serious issues on payment. So I think that these are issues that are real, it is true, but that we can still have other opportunities, for the president, for us to address the president and the deputy president on the same. And that really, yesterday was a day of us welcoming our visitors and showing really what Bomet is about. And Bomet are warm people, very receptive, and we like visitors. And most importantly, we wanted the focus to be on the two places that we opened and this block. The new thing here is this decision for us to join the Lake Region Economic Bloc as a block that can help us to really go on, economies of scale and really sell our products, part of them being the milk, which now we know we have a place that we can process.
All right, Madam, just to maybe wind up, the perception out here is that the walkout yesterday exposed some deep-seated issues. Is this a correct position or not?
I would want, unless, I cannot say which deep-seated issues. And I would also want to actually tell you that it was not very evident that there was a walkout. Most people did not see a walkout. What we saw is what came out in the media and, when the press statement came. Otherwise, I'm sure even the president must have been shocked to hear that there was a walkout because it wasn't evident at the time that the president was in was in the university. If there's deep-seated issues, we have actually opened up and said, let us meet as leaders. I have when we, not just me alone, we have asked our senator to be our chair so that we meet quarterly in a year, and all the MCAs, all the elected leaders, to discuss about the issues of Bomet. We want to ask our senator, please move with speed. Let us see you taking that role of bringing us together. In terms of the preparation of the conference, we were with the elected leadership. We were with them. We had a meeting on Saturday, you know, to talk about what it is that we wanted to bring before the president. So I really, and it was actually the one who was chairing that meeting in the office. So the question of deep-seated differences, I cannot say. You really have to be told what those deep-seated differences are, because as much as possible, we have tried to reach out to our leadership so that we can move together. Because this moment is for all of us. Each of us has been given that mandate and has been elected to do a particular job. So let us all play our roles, and I believe that we can move forward together.
Just a final take, Madam. Has the President indicated any intention of meeting the group or not?
I don't think that he has said he will not meet the group, or he will meet the group really, because there is no issue. I've told you that it will be a surprise even to him to see the headlines that there was a walkout when nobody actually saw the walkout. What we saw is the press statement that was given after. So it's now to you know, agree together that we want an appointment to see the president because of the issues that we have. That are things that can be handled. Yes.
And we're just on the second day of the LREP forum. Just if you could give us a snippet as to what to expect going forward.
I believe that this is going on very well. I'm sure what is not coming out, we have covered it with the politics, but really this is a scientific conference. This is a conference that is really looking very, very deeply on issues of you know, trade within the bloc, giving ideas on how we can be able to, you know, enhance and strengthen, and even, you know, those relationships, and how we can make sure that we get it right before we start even the bloc. I'm very happy that the president yesterday and the minister said that even the national government, they are actually coming up with a policy. Meaning this is not just going to be a thing about the Lake Region Economic Bloc. This is going to be a policy that will now anchor economic blocks into national policy or into law, and get a framework that now will work for the whole country, so that we start not looking at it from a political angle. This is the strongest bloc, a bloc with over 14 million inhabitants, a bloc that has a diversity of communities within this bloc. And it is one that has a lot of potential of really growing, because we are not very far from Uganda, we are not very far from Tanzania. So if our issue is economic transformation and economic empowerment of our people, and the economies of scale of seeing how we can sell our products, which of them, one of them is milk, another one is tea, and another one are agricultural products. So we are probably the biggest beneficiaries if we really take this seriously and look at it, you know, very well. And it is good to discuss. I think we are telling people, let's have discussions, healthy discussions around, you know, what we can do as a bloc. Thank you.
Arnold, you were following what the governor was saying. Do you buy her explanation and response to what happened yesterday?
Well, I'm surprised that the governor, who was not part and parcel of the people who walked out, finds it even necessary to passionately respond to it. Of course, her response is an attempt at managing the politics that come with that. The MPs wanted to speak, and taking care of 4 MPs is quite a small thing. You bring them, line them on the podium, give them a mic, and then manage as they speak. Yes. So the issue of time is neither here nor there.
Yes, and the president's
but
program.
Then there was definitely issues they wanted to address that ensured that they were locked out. And the president loves local leadership speaking. So anytime they are left out, then there is something bigger than all of us can see.
As Julian was putting it to, do you think there's any, necessarily cracks? This shows cracks?
Automatically, that there was a statement after that means that there are cracks, so we really don't have to speculate over that. It's a fact. Mm-hmm. And probably they wanted to talk about issues either State House wasn't comfortable handling or wasn't ready, or local issues that the governor probably might not have been so comfortable handling. So she's coming out as the head of the county to try and manage those the politics. You know, she's waxing hot and cold.
Yes.
Feeling very unfortunate about the incident, and also downplaying it when it's necessary and saying that it wasn't even evident that they walked out. Well, so you see the...
You remember how it was when you'd misbehave in front of the visitors and your mom would just grin at you and then later deal with it. Perhaps this is what's happening. Now, finally, to the word on, your final word on the agricultural sector, to the CS, to the President, what we need to put at the forefront in our focus.
Well, my last word would be that, number one, let us not be reactionary in this issue.
Yes.
Let us take agriculture serious because it employs 60% of our population. It supports 25% of our GDP. By and large, it also ensures food security, at least to the level where we are. So I would expect that we do not just look at sugar, maize, that we look at the whole sector, because all the crops, because we have neglected agriculture. And of course, giving importers and other farmers elsewhere much money and neglecting our own. So I expect the CS, when he shows up, that we're going to see a comprehensive approach to this issue.
Yeah.
That we're going to look, not just paying farmers, because even if you are to pay farmers in Mumias today, then how does Mumias function after that? How are you going to ensure that there's raw material to ensure that the factory keeps on running? How are you going to ensure that other factories, especially state-owned factories that are running on obsolete technology, how are we going to modernize? We need modernization.
Yes.
We need irrigation to be brought in. We need policies that are friendly. We also need to guard our market, because, you know, food, unlike any other thing, is a market that is always open. It's a sector, it's a business sector that is not going away. So how can we spur that sector to work out? We need to work on extension, really bring in a lot of budget. We have done that with other sectors. Okay. Why not agriculture? We've left it on autopilot. It's been on autopilot for so long until it's actually been derailed. I expect that he will also address on issues, market forces.
Okay.
Because there's the practices on the farm, there is government policy. Before we look at the productivity, we have actually gone lower. We are no longer producing the way we used to produce. Yet we have got the potential, we have got the land, and we have got the demand.
Okay.
It's just greed, it's impunity, and it's our bad manners as usual to actually put agriculture on its knees.
And something that's gotten a lot of focus and attention from what you've said to the President, put your money where your mouth is. I believe the message will get home. And yes, being one of the big issues in terms of the Big Four, perhaps they hopefully will be keen to some of the avenues that we should be looking forward to in terms of changing the fortunes for agriculture.
Just shortly,
yes,
is that we have competent agricultural officers out there.
Say again?
We have got competent agricultural officers out there.
Yes.
In the Ministry of Agriculture are people who have put their lives, who've gone out and studied.
What we lack
is political goodwill.
Yes.
That, like I said, if the president is actually going to turn his anger into action, we're going to see results. But then making noise today, then lying low and allowing cartels and other people to play their game is not helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do not lack capacity. We have got capacity. We have got potential. It's leadership that lacks.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and thoughts, Arnold Maliba. You can find him on Twitter at Arnold Maliba, policy and governance analyst, and has a lot to say on the goings-on in the country. Really appreciate your time, Arnold.
Thanks so much, Mark.
Thank you. And